Good morning, HubSpot Nation. Happy Monday. We are here for another episode of Let's Build Profoundly with our next pro in our 30 for 30 series, where we're highlighting a bunch of profoundly pros getting the job done inside the ecosystem. We're here with Madelyn. How you doing, Madelyn?
Good. How's
Hey,
everyone
Madeline.
this morning?
Doing good, doing good. Had a productive weekend and certainly ready for an exciting week after our first week where we got to launch. I think we're all still maybe a little high off of that. How you guys doing, Brian and Jason?
Doing fantastic. Heart goes out to all our friends in Bills Nation. Tough loss last night, but otherwise doing great.
Yeah, doing great. Excited to be here. Madeline, thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
And we'll dive right in. Madeline, HubSpot expert. How did that become a thing for you?
Yeah, I think I didn't know that it was happening until I found this, community and inbound and everything. But I've used HubSpot for as long as I can remember in my working career. I think I used it in college for like some internships, and I've freelanced for a long time, like off and on too, and like worked at a lot of startups. And HubSpot is great for startups and like small shops, people who like need something user friendly and that will just work and can do a little bit of everything. So I just kind of naturally have always used it, which is great. And the funny thing about being in marketing at companies is you kind of fall into a lot of roles that aren't like they don't quite have to be marketing. But you can always spin it to be part of your job role if it fits and if you want to. So you're often you're crowned the HubSpot admin, whether you like it or not. But I was happy to be crowned the HubSpot admin. I don't want
The
anyone else.
accidental admin.
um, but yeah, so it just happened naturally.
That's awesome. Madeline, I gotta ask, because I love all of our pros and I love the stories. Can you share like where'd you grow up? What was your like how'd you end up in tech? Tell us your story.
Yeah. So I grew up in a town called Latrobe, Pennsylvania. It's where Mr. Rogers grew up, fun fact.
Nice.
Um, and lived there until I was about 12, I think. My parents split up, and one of them moved to Florida. So then we moved to Florida to be closer to both of our parents. And then, so I grew up in both places, which is kind of weird. Like, I'm used to the snow, but I'm also used to like the horrible heat. And then I missed Pittsburgh, so me and my husband moved back right after college, and I just kind of instantly got sucked into the Pittsburgh tech scene. Pittsburgh has a great like startup world. So many like incubators and spin outs from like Carnegie Mellon and University of Pittsburgh. It's also really hard to get started in marketing when you first start out. There's not a lot of people that will trust you with obviously their entire brand. It's rightfully so. But so you kind of have to like fight to make a portfolio for yourself. So again, startups are great. And yeah, I just got sucked in and love it. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
As you've grown in the ecosystem, what kind of problems or challenges like are you drawn to and helping people solve?
Yeah, I think a lot of disconnects between marketing and sales have always, obviously I'm presented with them a lot, but I think I really like dealing with those challenges too because at the end of the day we're all just people going to work and we all have our respective jobs, but like we all have the same goal at the end of the day. And sometimes we get distracted and frustrated, but HubSpot like is a great kind of like denominator and like everybody's using the same tool. Okay, let's take care of it. Let's leave it better than we found it. Garbage in, garbage out. Let's find processes and practices that like help everyone make this easier like as we go. So I think it's a lot of the time it's like people processes that you can figure out how to put into HubSpot. And like I always say, whenever someone asks me, "Can you do this in HubSpot?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I don't say it like that, but like you can do anything in HubSpot. That's not the problem. It's okay, you're going to have to ask this person if they're okay with that, or you're going to have to ask this person what the options are, or who's going to get this, or what team are they in HubSpot already? Like it's all the people stuff. And then you can build whatever. but it's, yeah, those types of processes.
Madeline, when you first started using HubSpot, was it a marketing hub entry point? Like, did you start off by working on marketing type problems, or was it more you got thrust right into Sales Hub, CRM land? What was kind of the focus when you first started, or all of
I
the
think
above?
I think for some of my freelance clients, they were using it purely as a CRM. And then some clients were using it for marketing. The startup program for HubSpot is was also like a great thing for the places I worked because then, we had access to pro and enterprise level features that I didn't realize I was so lucky to be able to, work in at the time. And I worked in a lot of like I guess it was a lot of content, but not a lot of people used the I don't think could you do websites on HubSpot like forever? I can't remember.
Yeah, it used
Yeah.
to be like there's like this $300 level and $1,000 level, and then in like 2020, it's when they brought it down and decided to start competing with
Okay.
WordPress.
Okay. Yeah, because it was a lot of like WordPress integrations, and like manual stuff. But it started out like that, and then naturally you were like, okay, we have to prove that what we're doing matters. We have to show like data behind what we're doing, and a lot of reporting and dashboards, and that's how you connect to sales. And you want to improve your clarity on like conversions and conversion rates. So then you get into sales, and then you're set. Oh, can you make me a template? Oh, can you make me a playbook? And then just like naturally, you kind of like learn everything.
So did you go right
Madeline,
into consulting? Like, was your first? Did you learn HubSpot via being a consultant or being
No,
external, or were you in house?
I was in house. Like I did freelancing on the side for a while, but I've been in house for like almost a decade and at B2B companies too, which I think is important because that it's very different for like how you build processes and everything. Like for example, something that I'm sure every marketing team can relate to. Historically, been really hard to measure like events in HubSpot. So everyone has to come up with their own way to track like trade show success or make a trade show campaign. So yeah, being in-house really helps you learn how to figure that stuff out.
Madeline, you've obviously jumped right into the Profoundly community, and you've had such a huge impact on Profoundly, in a really relatively short amount of time. Like, and you've gotten involved in so many different things. Like, I'm curious, where do you get the most energy? Like, what do you love doing? Because you're obviously adding value in so many different places. But like, if we just left you alone, what would your compulsions be? Like, where would you spend your time?
Oh, that's such a great question. Yeah, I think that's my problem is I really love this stuff. So I can't get enough of it. I love like I'm kind of an organized person, but I'm also a very messy person. You can ask my husband. But like when it comes to again, like I love processes and like standardizing things and like that's a big part of marketing, but also being creative is a big part. And like problem solving in a way that's authentic and doesn't feel like fake or salesy is really important to me. And I think it can be hard to do, but I also think it's important for customers and for the teams inside a company to believe in what they're doing. I guess it's like being creative and figuring out the best way to approach something. And I'm a big unfortunately I'm a procrastinator, so like I love planning, but then I'm not so great at the doing all the time. Or I sign myself up for way too much because I love the planning and then I don't realize like, oh, all that came really easily to me. But yeah, I don't have that energy to actually do all the stuff that I just signed myself up for.
Can
But
relate.
usually it's worth it.
Well, however you've done it, you've seemed to have put systems in place, mechanisms in place to do both, because you certainly are executing, on the things that we've talked about. Now, I know you've also got a session coming up at Kickoff on March 6th. Like, what are folks going to hear about as part of your session?
Yeah, I'm excited. So I'm going to be talking about CTAs in HubSpot, which I love. I like talk about them all the time. They're like a small but mighty tool for HubSpot for marketing, but like for any type of like digital program, I think. So I'm going to talk about like what they are, uh, why, CTA is used in any industry, I guess, but like what it means in HubSpot specifically, why you should use them, some specific examples and use cases, some features, especially because of the legacy to new CTA tool, and then like best practices for managing them. So those are all things that I want to refresh myself on, especially as I'm dealing with it myself. But I think it's going to be cool. It's going to be great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, as we were putting the site together, Profoundly site, I learned a lot about how far the CTA's tool has come, like the ability to build basically whatever you want now. So like like a microsite page basically inside of a CTA. It's pretty awesome. And I think that's the fun and the challenge right now is that HubSpot is moving so fast. It can be easy to focus on all the new, but then there's basic tools, foundational tools like CTAs, where if you don't take time to revisit them, you can kind of lose track of what's possible, especially as it relates to all the other hubs. And that's why I'm excited about, our event where we've got all the 8 tracks and really some great sessions lined up. But I do want to relate it to, full disclosure, Madeline was my first organic customer as I ventured into, consulting agency, which is a big deal for anybody that's gone that route, solopreneur, freelancer. Like you start with the people that you know and the relationships you have, but having that first organic one to be discovered, which we know is not easy, and that's one of the goals of Profoundly is to help with discoverability of individual experts. And the use case, I think I'd love for you to dig into, Madeline, because it definitely highlights how, managing people processes and getting a team like engineering that's not used to being in HubSpot, like it was such a fun project to be a part of. And I'd love for you to like just dig into kind of how you made that work.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was so fun looking back on it because it was such a mix of so many different features and tools, but in a way that our team wasn't overwhelmed by it. Like only we knew that we were using so many different mechanisms. But yeah, like you said, we had so obviously us as the marketing team, we had the sales team in HubSpot, and the unique thing about that job was our engineering team was also part of the sales process. So a lot of people use HubSpot and they want to keep it purely up until someone becomes a customer, and then they'll put customers in another system, which I don't agree with, but some people do that. And that's how I think we were up to a certain point. And that's fine if you can track your whole sales process from front to end. But when your engineering team is part of your sales process for something that's like a custom product, or if something needs custom designed, any sort of custom product or project, you suddenly now your sales process is not predictable. Like you can't systematize it without having that team involved. So we looked to bring the engineering team into HubSpot. They had never used HubSpot before. They're so busy. They don't want to have to learn this marketing tool. Why do they have to do this? And then it's also like we had to bring their processes that they were doing in another way into HubSpot and make it like seamless enough while also like easing the frustrations of anything we could easily fix. It was just like a lot of things at play. But yeah, I think basically we ended up using a lot of custom views for objects. So like we worked off of the deal object, and each team had their own view, and you could only see what you had to work on. And there was a lot of like required fields, conditional logic, and automation at play. So once the sales team filled out some information, it would move to the next deal stage, and it was engineering's turn. They would get a notification, and then they had to fill out their information all formatted correctly and then send it to the sales team, and then whatever else happened in between. um, a lot of change management, of course, and just like mapping, which is also super fun, process mapping. But that was a great project, and Chris was essential during that whole thing. It's all kind of a blur looking back on it, but it took a while to figure out like what we should even do and then how to do it. And then like a flip-flop back and forth and then finally finish it.
What were you guys using before HubSpot? I mean, before architecting this whole thing across HubSpot, what was it? Just a bunch of cobbled together systems?
Excel spreadsheets linked to one
That sounds like
another.
a great process for Excel.
Linked to one another and outdated and yeah.
I'm sure lots of people listening to this immediately feel the pain on that statement.
And I just remember I would always say, or like someone would be like, oh, we need to document this. Should we make another spreadsheet? And I would just like cringe and be like, HubSpot is a spreadsheet. You could like, HubSpot's just a giant spreadsheet. But like, of course, you know, they don't see that.
Was there a point in the process where you're like, all right, we got them. Like they're
But
using HubSpot.
yeah, yeah. I think I remember one of our engineers saying, what did he say? He basically said like, "Oh my gosh, this is so much better." Or maybe he asked something like he was like, "Can I get even more notifications?" And I was like, "Absolutely.
Yes, you
I got
can.
you covered." Like something like that. Like they wanted something that I knew I could do and I was like, "Now you're hooked. Like now you see the value and I know I'm not like bugging you." So,
Well, engineering is a tough audience too. I mean, it needs to work right. It needs to work in the moment, exactly the way it was built and as expected. That's a tough group.
yeah, exactly.
That's like the magic activation statement, right? You know you've reached activation when they're like, this is so much better.
Yeah.
Can I get more notifications? Or
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. Madeline, how did you mentioned how you kind of got started. How did you skill up in HubSpot? Like what were useful way back then?
So I leaned on, of course, the HubSpot Academy a ton. Love it. And there's the HubSpot community. I never really got into that as much, but I was always familiar with the results showing up in Google. But I would say more than anything, the Sprocketeer Slack and the knowledge base, the HubSpot knowledge base. The knowledge base is my Google. It's my best friend. It's for anyone who needs to like learn HubSpot or just like wants to feel more confident about it. I think a lot of people look to the academy and think, "Oh my gosh, I have to like sit through all these videos. Like I don't know what I don't know." But the knowledge base is like just answers immediately and it's so well linked. I don't know, that was just super relevant for me. And hands-on experience, like just trying things. That's really the best way to learn is figuring out like a synced property can't work with a custom object or like I don't know, so whatever random rules there were at the time, and learning different ways to approach a problem if if you hit a roadblock. So
Yep, makes
How do
sense.
you how do you keep up now?
well, I'm really lucky that there's this new company called Profoundly that I can rely on um, to get me HubSpot help. And yeah,
Is there
like,
anybody on LinkedIn that you like to follow
oh
or
yeah,
anything like
tips
that?
and tricks, Kyle's tips and tricks. I commented this morning. Apparently, now in lists, when you're creating a list, you can automatically change the object of the list. Mind blown. Yeah. So,
Wait,
um,
what?
yeah, when you're creating a list, you know how, like, if you want to create a company list, but you accidentally click contact because you're just used to clicking contact. And then you fill out all your filters and then you're like, dang it, I need to do a company list. And you have to go back and like repeat all the steps, but for a company list. Now you can just click company instead and
Wow,
you'll get all, yeah. And apparent the rumor is they're going to do that for workflows too. Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a part of intro to pros here. You just expect us to get a little nerdy at times. Apologize to Brian and Jason at a time, but
It's
that's
all
what
good.
we're all about here. All about sharing knowledge in the moment. Things are happening in HubSpot every day. That's one of the things we look forward to helping with. Madeline, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I'm so honored to be, one of the pros and just in this community. I'm so excited to see all that it becomes.
Madeline, I'm super excited for your session at kickoff. I'm looking forward to it. I mean,
Yeah.
CTAs as a very like non-deep technical HubSpot user, CTAs is a thing that I can easily wrap my head around and just understand the value of it when I'm thinking about any sort of like audience facing site. So I'm really excited about the CTA session.
Yeah,
Same.
absolutely.
And if you're watching this and you want to be a Profoundly Pro, head over to profound.ly. A few different ways you can get value right now. You can sign up to join as a pro. You can check out the marketplace where all of our pros are if you need some HubSpot help. But also you can sign up for the event, Profoundly Kickoff. It's on March 6th. Really excited about that. And again, thanks so much, Madelyn.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Madelyn.
Thanks,
thank
Madeline.
you.
Have a
Bye.
great day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.